The heart and soul of Houston lies within its residents. From talented individuals to booming small businesses, there are many walks of life that make our city great. Let's see what H-Town has to offer. This is Video Workshop.
Movies are, a film script is in a constant stage of revision.
Hello, I'm Dominic Saxa.
Hello and welcome to Video Workshop. I'm your host, Ryan Douglas. Join us today as Angie takes us down to Coral Sword, a neighborhood games cafe that will show us an inside look into small businesses with a touch of nerdy love. Stay tuned for Alicia and musical artist Dominic Pieniazek, who will be demonstrating and explaining his creative hobby. Up for a little relaxation, Matthew Haley takes us to Rose Therapeutic Farms, where you can play with baby goats while sipping margaritas and practicing yoga. We all remember our time growing up in school, but how has the public education system evolved through the years? We find out when Alexandra Alvarez talks to retired public school teacher Barbara Skelton. But now, let's join Alexandra with the Houston-based actress and acting coach, Alicia Dumovich.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Alvarez, and today joining us we have Alicia Dumovich. She's an actress and acting coach, and she's worked on several films, television, commercials, voiceovers, and theater. Thank you for joining us, Alicia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, my first question for you is why Texas? You know, it's definitely no Hollywood, so what makes you choose to stay here?
Well, I love Texas. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. I moved here when I was 5 from the East Coast. You know, early on, maybe that would have... So early on in my adult career acting, because I've been acting since I was a kid, the Southeast region really started to develop, particularly in Louisiana and New Orleans. Since then, you know, really expanded over to Atlanta. And so, you know, LA is such a big fishbowl. And so I feel like for a lot of actors, you know, it's like any other profession. You want to build your career and you kind of have to work your way up the ladder, so to speak. So by and large, it's actually, I think, maybe most of the time, smarter pool to, you know, stay and try to build those credits and then make that move if you're going to move, or get into something that might take you that direction and see how that goes. That way your cost of living is lower, you know, and you're able to kind of take your time and do it that way. So, I mean, there's all sorts of ways to approach it, but that was the one that I chose to go with.
Did you always know that this was something that you wanted to do?
Apparently. My dad took me to see a Peter Pan in the theater when I was like 6 years old, and Peter Pan started flying, and the story goes, I turned to my dad and I said I wanted to do that, and the rest is history. But I started doing it professionally when I was about 8. But yeah, I bugged my parents to do it all the time. You know, it's one of those, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not, you know, there's a lot of things that come with it. And so I think for anybody, especially for kids, you know, they really need to want to do it. It needs to come from them. And certainly in my case, that was the case.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that as well, you have been doing acting coaching for 13 years?
Gosh, it might even be close to 15 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has that helped or not helped your acting? How has that impacted it?
That's a great question. So I think that, I don't know, many actors probably have some level of, you know, we're always wanting to know if we're doing well in the audition room. You know, and wanting to improve. And I think for me, coaching has done a few different things. One, I'm able to see such a wide range of other actors and what they do with things, which, you know, is a great thing to see and learn from. And to really see how, like, even two people auditioning for the same role, how they approach it differently. Yeah. And so it's not so much about, oh, this person is better than this person. It's just this person brings this to the table and this person brings that to the table. And so whomever gets it, you know, it's really more of a, they were right for that role through that director's eyes. So I feel like it helps with, it's helped me with my own confidence and my own sort of boldness and really being myself. And then the other thing that's really helped with is I'm reading scripts every day. I'm constantly practicing. And so I really saw a shift in my own acting when I was doing it every single day, you know. So for anybody that's training, it may seem like once a week is enough, but I'm telling you, like, when you're doing something and you're wanting to get good at it, doing it every day, you know, it's a really important thing for training, to just kind of keep yourself fresh and practicing. Yeah.
Definitely. And I know there's working actors and there's aspiring actors.
Sure.
Is that one of the main tools that you would tell an aspiring actor that wants to become a working actor, is just to practice every day? Is there anything else that you would
Yeah, sure. Practice,
advise?
of course. You know, getting involved in any way you can. There's a really great film community here, film, television, theater community here. And, you know, you can get involved. You can get on Facebook and find the different groups, you know, student films, independent films. There's all sorts of ways to get involved and to just be doing it. So sitting, like, if you do happen to have an agent, sitting around waiting for the agent to call is not really maximizing your time and the resources that you have. So get out there and get in it, talk to people, you know, work on different projects. For me, I just want to be around it. So
All right, well, thank you so much, Alicia.
Thank
That
you.
is unfortunately all the time we have.
That's great. It was
I
good talking
could
to you.
just talk your ear off, I'm sure, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Angie Pieniazek, standing in front of Coral Sword, a local neighborhood games cafe just 5 minutes away from the University of Houston campus. I'm about to go in and talk to some people about the significance that this cafe holds to them and to the city of Houston.
We spoke with Sandy, the managing partner and one of the founders of Coral Sword. He's been with the cafe since the very beginning and sees his job as making sure that everyone in the cafe is having a good time, whether they're playing, eating, or working.
You know, one of the things that I love about Houston is that it's not any one thing. I think that, like, there are so many different areas and so many different neighborhoods, and I think every place has its own really unique feel. And I will also say that I think Houston is probably the most welcoming space, like city I've ever been to. People are super chill here and really welcoming. And I think, I'd like to think that that's the way that Coral Sword also feels for people who walk in for the first time.
We attract a lot of artsy people. We attract a lot of nerdy people, as some would say. But I think nerdy's kind of cool, you know what I mean?
Coral Sword is a neighborhood games cafe that opened up at the east end of Houston in February 2018. They serve snacks and drinks, offer board games to play, and also host weekly events.
The largest part, like the majority of people that come in are like people who play Magic the Gathering. So on Friday nights we have Friday Night Magic, and that goes on probably until like past close. So it starts at like 7 and doesn't like end till like 11, 11:30.
Sundays we also have a Commander event, which is Magic the Gathering, different format. So it's a 100-card constructed format.
And the way that started was like 2 different groups of Magic people just like were playing, and we're like, hey, y'all should play with each other. And they were just like, meet you here next week.
They also host weekly Dungeons & Dragons nights on Mondays, as well as other monthly events to encourage the community to come hang out. The building is set up with 2 businesses on the first floor and 1 on the second. With Battle Royale Tattoo Parlor upstairs and East End Barbershop right next door, patrons of each business can mingle, share experiences, and help create a welcoming environment.
I'd say some of my favorite moments are the times when, you know, regulars from the cafe are just kind of, you know, talking with barbers, you know, on the patio, just kind of hanging out. One of the tattoo guys comes down, and all of a sudden there's like 3 people who didn't know each other a year ago or 2 years ago are all of a sudden hanging out, having a good time. And that feels really good to be the kind of place where people can just make new friends like that. That's super cool.
I feel the fact that there's like 3 different businesses all in one building just attracts more people. So it's like really good for all of us because we all constantly support each other. All of us are really cool with the people upstairs and the people next door.
The 3 businesses often work together, sharing their clientele and advertising for each other to their own customers and on social media.
A lot of folks use the term board game cafe. I feel like we're not just limited to board games. Obviously, we have the Twitch element with our streaming booth, and obviously with some video game tournaments and things like that. So the term that we use is neighborhood games cafe. But yeah, pretty much anything that's fun under the sun.
We're very family friendly, and we try to get a lot of people who are into like the same thing. So we get a lot of friend groups, and it's just like the overall vibe of this place is just nerdy, and just accept it. You know what I mean? It's such a friendly area that just like loves each other and just wants to give back to the community. And I don't know, that's what I love about Coral Sword.
You know, it's been a really tough year with the pandemic and everything, and we managed to survive and even thrive in a really difficult time. And to see our community kind of rally behind us and be so supportive has been a really moving, really incredible feeling. So,
Small businesses like this are the heart and soul of Houston. Make sure you support your local businesses and come by to Coral Sword.
And joining us now, we have Pieniazek showing us his creative talent behind the production process of his song, Haymaker, now available on YouTube.
Thank you. My name is Dominic. I graduated at U of H in '93, an electrical engineering major. And ever since I was growing up, I always wanted to be a rock star, right? You want to go on stage and play music. As you get older, of course, things change. Your priorities change. You get married, you have kids. So that dream kind of fades away. Not that it's a dream, but just kind of the idea of doing that fades away. So in the interim time, what I do is I record my own music. I write, record, and play my own music. And today I'm going to take you through the process of what I do to do that. So typically when a band starts to record a song, they usually are all together in one studio. The drums, the bass, the guitars, they're all playing together. And the drums are typically recorded separately to where you don't have any microphone bleed for the guitars and the bass and the vocals. The guitars and the bass will play along with it, but the first thing you do is you record the drums. Once you get a good sound with the drums, you can isolate each of the drums. This is the kick drum, the snare drum, the toms, and the hi-hats and the overheads. Once you get a sound that you're comfortable with, that's when you start to record overlay the other instruments. In this case, the next instrument that we recorded or overlaid was the bass guitar. The bass guitar was playing over the drums, so when you listen to the drums and the bass play together, it kind of helps form the sound of where the song is gonna go. It's real important that the bass and the drums are pretty in sync because the drum follows the bass guitar, and if you have any sort of inconsistency there, that'll stand out like a sore thumb. So once the bass guitar is recorded over the drums, the next thing we do is we add the guitar. This is the first rhythm guitar, and it's a little bit thin, so what I do is I add a second guitar to kind of help fill in the gaps. Once you get to a point that the sound in the mix sounds pretty good, you go back and you get the vocals recorded. The vocals are typically the most important part of the song because that's what everybody remembers. You know, a guitar riff or a drum lick sounds pretty good, but the vocals really are what capture your memory when you write a song. So this song is called Haymaker, and the pretty funny story is that when I play this at the house, all my kids will have it in their heads, and all I have to do is say "hit you like a," and they say "Haymaker." So it's kind of an interesting, funny anecdote. And then the last step of the song is what we do is we put the guitar solo. And you know, if it's a guitarist like myself that's making the song, I always think that that's the most important part, which is really not. But that's the reason that when we have the final mix completed, I send the mix out to a producer, because a second ear will really help bring out the good parts of the song. So right now, the recording that you listen to is all without EQ, without effects. Once you produce it and mix it, then the song sounds completely different. And here's what it sounds like when the mix is completed. It adds quite a bit of depth. It fills out the gaps to where you have a much fuller sound. And again, you can go back and you can identify areas that you don't like or that you like. For example, here's what the tom sounds like. And you hear that, and what you can also do is you can basically take out any instrument that you want at a time, right? So you can take out play only the toms, and you can tell that here what I have is I have a mic bleed that you hear from this tom, that you're picking up other drums, but then when you're ready to hear the toms only, you will turn back on the effects to where you don't hear everything else coming through. But anyway, this is a fun thing that I do. I think it helps find ways to pass time, enjoy and relax your time when you're away from the music. This is something that you can do at your house with or without other musicians, and you can always add them after the fact.
Thank you for that great demonstration, Dominic. You can find Dominic Pieniazek's song Haymaker on YouTube now. But now let's take a look at doing some yoga with some baby goats while sipping margaritas.
Hi there, my name is Matthew Haley, and today we're at Rose Therapeutics Farm, and behind me I have a goat yoga and margarita class. Founded by Tiffany Thompson, Goat Yoga Katie is located in Brookshire, Texas, and is home to a number of animals and fun events.
So this is Rose Therapeutic Farm. I bought this property about 2 years ago, and it was so adorable that I just knew I had to share it with the world. I used to live inside the loop, and big city girl, no farm animals, no trees, not many trees. And once I got out here, I was like, everybody needs a taste of this, and I'm so blessed to be able to share it with people.
Tiffany's love and passion for yoga has been years in the making. An avid traveler, she studied in Morocco, receiving her Hatha teaching certificate. Now she's back in Houston, ready to share her practices with people from all experience levels with a fun and unique twist. Rose Therapeutic Farms has been designed to allow people to disconnect from their troubles and enjoy a breath of fresh air.
And yeah, so we're kind of doing this just to kind of let people come out to the farm, especially people who live in urban areas. Just kind of being outside in nature is a really good therapeutic way to kind of maintain like mental sanity and everything, and to kind of relax and de-stress from the world.
In addition to unwinding with yoga and baby goats, Rose Therapeutic Farms also offers a spin on their class by including refreshing margaritas to those 21 and up. Don't worry, however, the class is still open to all appropriate ages.
We started off just doing goat yoga, and then started doing a whole lot of birthday parties, Girl Scout troops, NCL parties, and then I got a lot more animals. People started giving me pigs and cows, and now I do farm experiences for families to come out and do like a one-on-one tour of the property. We also do pumpkin carving with goats, Easter egg hunts with goats. I mean, pretty much everything you do with goats is fun. So we have, let's see what else. We have bonfires with goats and the cows and the horses. It's just getting outside, doing crafts sometimes. We offer all kinds of cool experiences. We're actually in the process of building different barns and structures on the north part of our property. So pretty soon we'll have a lot more space to offer different events. I get a lot of people out to come and try yoga that have never done it before. Like half the hands that come up are like never done yoga before. So it's a good experience. You get people outside doing something healthy and physical and interacting with animals, and every time they leave here, they have a huge grin on their face.
It has been a wonderful experience and beautiful weather.
Yeah, she's coming from Atlanta, I'm from Dallas, so we came a long way to, have this goat yoga. I learned things that my body couldn't do with a goat on it. So very impressed, and I had a great time. Yeah.
While the farm is host to many unique classes and fun events, it also has a foster home to many of the animals. Most of the goats have been raised by Tiffany and her employees until they can find their forever home.
This is little Squirt.
Okay.
He is a triplet. His mom is Little Bit, and she had Sammy, Sassy, and Squirt, and he's Squirt because he was the littlest. And he's really tired now because he had a goat yoga class in the morning, and then he had pumpkin carving with goats, and then he had a goat yoga class in the evening. So he's exhausted, and he's got his little swim trunks on because every goat needs a swim outfit. Squirt is 4 months old, 5 months old.
Wow.
And he's got blue eyes, and he already has a new home he's going to. I keep the goats with me until they're about 2 to 3, and then they go live with another family on another farm, and he's going with both his brothers and sisters.
The clientele are in love with the experience. Whether you're looking for an adventurous date, new exercise routine, or just some fun in the sun, Rose Therapeutic Farms has you covered.
Come check out Rose Therapeutic Farm.
Yes.
A boutique family farm, a place to disconnect with the city and connect with nature.
Thank you, Matthew, for that wonderful look into the goat yoga experience. Houston offers much more outside of the city, too, so plan your event at Rose Therapeutic Farm for some comfort and hospitality. But the relaxation is not done. Let's take a walk through one of Houston's more greener areas at the Japanese Gardens in Herman Park, a staple example of Houston's diversity. Please enjoy the sights and sounds of this calming walk through nature in the big city.
Our next guest is Barbara Skelton. She has over 50 years of experience as an educator in both substitute teaching and teaching. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Skelton. So, let's talk about the Texas education system. Can you tell us how it has evolved for better or for worse?
Well, I would say the worst thing I think it is that it is dependent too much on technology. Children are not learning to use their heads to think or to solve problems because they've always got a smartphone or a tablet or some kind of computer, and they can't think on their own. On the other hand, they can look up information quicker, they can solve things quicker, but as I tell them, Miss Skelton, we don't need to learn how to add or subtract, multiply, divide. We've got a smartphone, we've got a tablet, and my answer to that is you're not always going to have that tablet or cell phone with you. And a good example is I told my grandson, I went to a fast food restaurant the other day and my bill was $19.02. I gave the young man a $20 bill and he rang it up on the cash register. My change was 98 cents. I didn't want 98 cents change, so I handed him 2 cents. He couldn't figure out for the life of him that he owed me $1. So that is a good example of how they're not learning to think on their own. Everything is technology.
Right, right.
So I think they need to go back to the old way a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how do you think you should change, or how do you think the system should change for the better? What kind of changes would you implement if you were in charge?
I think they need to go back and bring in a little bit more of the old way and quit trying to push the higher things down, like algebra in 4th grade.
Right.
They need to learn their facts. They need to learn to add and subtract. They need to learn to multiply. They need to learn to think with their hands instead of 2 plus 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 when they're in 4th and 5th grade. They need to learn these facts. They need to have teachers. They need to have parents work with them on these things.
Right.
And they're not doing it.
Yeah.
They need to learn 1 way or 2 ways to do something, not 5 ways to do one thing.
Interesting. Yeah. So what do you feel is the most effective way to teach?
The most effective way I think to teach is to look at some children are verbal learners, some children are visual learners. You need to see which way the children are. If it's a visual learner, you need to try to work with them that way. If they're verbal, try to learn to work with them that way. And you shouldn't put them all in just one box.
Right.
I know the last few years I taught, I was the math specialist in elementary. And so I had the children that were not eligible for special ed, but they were having a hard time in the regular classroom. So I pulled groups into my room and I worked with them on what the teacher wanted me to work with them on. And I didn't do 5 ways to do something. We did 1 way over and over till they learned it. And once they learned it, they were so happy, and they could go back to the classroom and succeed.
Right.
So that's one way that I would like to see happen in the classroom.
Yeah, I think that's great. Maybe a more individual
Yes.
kind of approach. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Now, has teaching been something that you've always wanted to do? Has this-
Always, since I was a
Okay.
little girl. I started out in church as a 12-year-old teaching 4-year-olds in Sunday school. It's in my blood. My
Yeah.
2 aunts were teachers. My girl cousins are all teachers. So it's, I guess, in my genes, because I wouldn't have been doing it this long had I not enjoyed it and loved working with the kids. And the brightest thing is when a kid clicks and he's learned something, or a parent comes to me 15 years down the road and recognizes me and says, "Oh, my son just loved you when he had you," or "You taught my son creative writing and he never liked writing before." That makes me happy that a parent realizes I've succeeded with their child.
Right. That must be so rewarding.
It is rewarding.
What's the best thing and the most thing that you enjoy about your job?
The thing I enjoy most about the job is when a child learns something, and I can tell they've learned something, and they're very appreciative when they've learned something. And if they get frustrated, I try to calm them down and say, "Hey, stop. Let's take this over. Let's learn it. Let's one-on-one learn it."
Right.
And eventually, when they learn it, they're not frustrated anymore.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Skelton. I really appreciate you coming on this show. That's all we have.
Thank you for asking me.
We hope you've enjoyed looking around Houston and seeing just how amazing our city is. I'm your host, Ryan Douglas. Next week, we'll talk to director Zach Yankovic as he talks about the world of audiovisual with his company Cutso Creates, along with Caleb Kalinda as he performs a hilarious comedy routine, followed by an interview with Abby Go, an actress making waves in the Houston theater scene. Angie Pieniazek introduces us to Rebecca Hernandez, a local musician performing classics. Watch and listen as the Video Workshop gang heads to the Houston Botanic Garden. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Video Workshop. Today's Video Workshop was directed by Angie Pieniazek, produced by Christian Hudspeth. This program is a laboratory production of the Jack J. Valenti School of Communication and the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences at the University of Houston. All participants are under the faculty supervision of executive producer Craig Crowe. Views expressed on Video Workshop are not necessarily those of the sponsoring organization, the University of Houston, or the Jack J. Valenti School of Communication. This is Ryan Douglas speaking. Video Workshop is recorded in the Lance T. Funston Communication Center in the Jack J. Valenti School of Communication, Houston, Texas.